Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Build. Our next guest is Walker Hayes. He is one of the biggest breakout stars of country music in the last couple of years. He's got some new music. 90s Country is a new single. It is out. It has an awesome video. He also just announced a brand new tour. So we're going to get him out here and talk about all that. I think it makes sense to start with this video. As soon as you knew 90s Country was getting a video treatment, were you sure Alan Jackson needed to become like a star of this with that doppelganger?
He had to be in it. And, you know, unfortunately, that's like his lookalike in that video. So we found a guy named Gunner who really does look just like.
At first, I wondered if it was you in costume.
Right.
The first time I saw it.
Yes, we could have pulled that off. But yeah, you know, we wanted to do our version of Chattahoochee, and I didn't want to bother AJ with my video. I mean, he's probably a pretty busy cat. So we got Gunner, the lookalike. But you know, if people don't know, I don't tell them. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it is Alan Jackson. Maybe it's not.
The biggest mystery in country music.
Right, exactly.
I love that. Let's talk about you also released a cover of Chattahoochee recently with Amazon.
Yeah.
So the song is clearly quite formative for you.
Oh, I can't remember the exact year Chattahoochee came out, but that's definitely one of the many country songs that I listen to that when I hear them now, I go back to a specific place and time when I was listening to that song. And love that song. I love a lot of Alan Jackson stuff, but I loved the video, and I grew up water skiing and stuff. And so when we were making the video, I said, hey, let's just do a modern day Chattahoochee treatment.
How many takes did it get to get all of the footage of you on the wakeboard?
Dude, we spent a long time that day, and it was freezing in that water, so it was so cold. But we went up and down the river in those boats, and what was funny is we all kept falling.
Sure.
You know, it was quite bumpy.
Playing a guitar on the front of a boat is not easy.
Exactly, right. And my band and I, we all felt like we had been in a car wreck the next day because of the beating we took on the front of those boats. But I'll never forget it. We had a blast, and then my family, my wife and kids came out later, and so they're in the audience jumping around, and yeah, most fun video I've made. I don't enjoy the video process at all. Visual stuff is weird to me.
I feel like people don't grow up dreaming of being a music video star. They grow up dreaming of wanting to be a rock star.
Exactly.
So that's maybe your biggest learning curve. You're very natural on stage, but
love it.
Videos make you a little nervous.
Yes, video. Hand me a mic. Let me talk. Let me sing. Whatever. Play guitar. But put a camera on me, and I'm like, you know, I need people in front of me. That helps me. But yeah, the video, haven't quite got that figured out. But that's what was fun about 90s Country is most of it was like riding on the boat was fun, singing, and then skiing. It was like, dude, just be you. So
try not to wipe out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in this song. You mentioned Amazed, Cowboy Take Me Away.
Yeah.
Obviously, You Think My Tractor Is Sexy, Kenny Chesney. Was that the idea originally, that you were like, I want to sort of do this Mad Lib project with all these 90s titles? Or was it that it came naturally where you started working them in?
I love Easter egg. That's a great way of putting it. But what really, we wanted to refer to a lot of songs, but maybe not say the title. Like Chattahoochee. We never said Chattahoochee. And we wanted to weave a story basically speaking 90s country language. And it was very difficult for Shane and I. Shane McAnally is my co-writer on this song, along with Gabby Mooney, who goes by Lyrics. But we spent so many hours writing this song. It was a puzzle that I would never, if somebody had an idea similar to it, I'd be like, nah, I don't want to write that with you. It's much easier to write a song with your own emotions, your own words, your own feelings, what you're trying to say. This song, I was trying to say something, but say it with words that were in a hat already. And so it was exhausting, to say the least. But yeah, there's 22 references to some of my favorite 90s country songs.
Which one was the hardest one to get work in a lyric? Like,
oh my goodness,
the rhythm was a little off, or the rhyme was a little off?
Let me think. You know, the last two were pretty easy. The Blame It All on My Roots and Baby Don't Be Stupid. There were so many Shania songs I wanted to, and so I feel like Don't Be Stupid is such a random, but I love the fact that it is. I don't know, you know, the difficult parts were, you know, I'm sold to the lady in the front seat. That line, the one that rhymed with 90s country, that was always difficult. And obviously we came up with 3, so we couldn't decide which one. But Man, there's at least 5 versions of this song no one will ever hear. And I mess up the words every single night.
Every time you
I've
perform
sung it live at least 100 times now,
Yeah.
and I still screw it up.
Well, I would think it'd be confusing to not just start singing the song that you're thinking of in the lyrics.
Sometimes they are. They're in my head, especially when I'm like, I like it, I love it.
Right.
You know, I'll start singing it wrong, and I'll notice audience members. They're like, you messed up.
Yeah.
And,
They keep you honest.
Yes, they sure do. But it was a therapeutic song to write. I mean, it was so fun, and happy, and it was nostalgic to write. As much as nostalgic as I hope it is for people to listen to, it was like that when we were writing it. Shane and I, you know, he would bring up a title, and we would just start talking about when we heard it and who we heard it with, and stuff
Well, that's why
like
it
that.
took so long. You guys were just telling
Right.
stories.
And then we would fight over whether, you know, I love Alabama's Cheap Seats. And he was like, nah, not a big enough hit. And we got in a huge argument about it. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's huge, you know. And then he wanted Brooks and Dunn, Neon Moon.
Amazing.
And I was like, yeah, it's cool, but it didn't define a year of my life like Cheap Seats. So.
Let's talk about the defining of your life, though, because
Yeah.
I think 90s country is probably just quite important to you. You would have been a teenager at the time
Yeah,
for a lot
absolutely.
of that. Was that when you were sort of figuring out, I want to be a musician, and what did it mean to you?
No, you know, what's funny is, and I love this about my history and my childhood, is that growing up, I did not want to be a musician. I had stage fright. I would have never gotten up in front of somebody and been like, you know, watch me sing. I wasn't that guy. I was in choirs and stuff in school, and I was in musical theater, but I had no idea it was going to be my job. My point is, I really listened to that music as a listener. I wasn't critiquing it. I wasn't going, man, I want to learn how to write this. You know, when I heard, thank God that's not my phone. I was been so embarrassed. But the first song that I remember lyrically responding to and being like, wow, that's powerful, is "Don't Take the Girl" by Tim McGraw. And to me, that defines 90s country music. It was that music that for some reason a 13-year-old was listening to a song about some pretty heavy stuff going, that's powerful. You know, and so, yeah, that music is great. I was naive, I was green. We're experiencing a lot of first while you're listening to this music. So to me, it kind of cheats for the music. Like, the music doesn't have to be that great when you're tasting your first beer.
No.
You're just always going to remember that song, and it's going to be amazing. Same thing with your first kiss or your first relationship. Like, is the music that good, or were you just having the time of your life?
You were having the time of
That
your
was
life.
it, yeah.
I'm curious, was there an album or an artist or a moment in your life where you said, oh, actually, I do want to write songs. I'm going to handle my stage fright. I'm going to get up there, and now I'm going to try and pursue this.
Shoot, you know, I honestly, there wasn't like an art. My dad was he was a musician before I was even born, and he ended up having to be a realtor, and he loved real estate, and he sold houses, but he gave me the music bug, and he encouraged me when I was 23. I was pretty late. And he encouraged me to go play songs in this bar. He was like, man, when you pick up that guitar at home, you're funny. You know, we just want to watch you. You're kind of captivating. You know, I think you need to try this in a bar. And I was like, Dad, I'm a grown man. Back off. You know, let me just be a man. You know, so I'm going to sell real estate with you. And anyway, he called me from this bar and said, hey, I got you a gig. This lady said you could sing. And I was like, that's embarrassing. I'm a man. Again, I'm a man. I should book my own gigs. And anyway, I said, I'll do it if you just leave me alone. And I did it one night. I was terrible. There was nobody there, but it felt so good. And that's the night I called my fiance at the time and said, hey, you want to move to Nashville? And then I fell in love with songwriting when we got there. So the long story,
There's
as short
been
as I could put it.
a lot of happiness and a lot of heartache that's come with that decision to take that gig. I'm sure you've thought about that many times, and was this the right path?
Oh, yeah.
What keeps you going? Is it that every time you get on stage, you think this still feels just really good? Well,
that helps, you know, the exhilarating feeling, you know, getting on stage. I mean, there were definitely years where no stage would have me.
Sure.
So I couldn't taste that, you know, that inspiring feeling as often as I would like. But, you know, a lot of what kept me going in Nashville is I just couldn't bear the thought of, and I think a lot of people can experience this, but I just didn't want to go home and say I didn't make it. You know what I mean? I would have rather just kind of taken a different path in Nashville than drive back to Mobile and say it didn't work out. You know what I mean? And that's probably my pride that probably kept me going a little bit. And I got to give credit to just people who believed in me. You know, my wife is one of several people who, in some way, form, or fashion, said, "Hey, you'd be crazy to leave. You know, you belong here. Just hang on." Yeah. And so yeah. But there were there were a lot of days where I was like, "What did we do?" And the same with my family situation is very unique. We chose to have kids, yeah, and not make sense in that aspect. So yeah, there were a lot of days where I was like, you know, my kids, they need more. Mm-hmm. They deserve better. I'm just chasing this dream. But I think them watching me do that is priceless. Sure. And you know, hopefully one day they'll spread their wings and chase their own dreams.
Can you imagine doing what your dad did and saying you guys should become musicians now, knowing what goes into it?
No, I would say it, you know, and that's the thing. That's one great thing is that if my kids become musicians, it is not because I said become one.
It's in spite of what you said.
Exactly. And I'd say, you know, I would tell them no, yeah, just because it would be the first no of a billion, mm-hmm, you know, because this business is tough and giant dreams. I mean, they're so hard to chase. And you almost have to be insane. Yeah. That's the only way I can describe it. You have to be crazy. So yeah, maybe they'll find their thing they're crazy for.
It's been a cool second start to your career in a way with Boom and signing right, with Shane and doing all of this. Was there something that felt different when this started to take off? When your music is very different than what right, you were doing originally. This is very Dear Diary and sort of confessional and what you're doing. When you realized like, oh, I have found my style and it looks like it's going to work out this time, where you were just feeling more sure?
Right. Well, you know, I knew my music was different, and my music being different has a lot to do with what we were just talking about. You know, I had nothing else to write for about 3 years ago except just that I loved writing. I didn't know anybody was going to hear it all. And, you know, so I was writing about working at Costco. I was writing about my struggle with addiction. I was writing about having kids and trying to feed them and be a good father, but at the same time, continue pursuing my passions and dreams and things that I was born for. So I knew that the community of Nashville, I knew they were responding to this music and that it had credibility there. I'm not sure I believed it was going to work, only because so many years, you know, history had told me it wasn't. Right. And so even when Shane McAnally wrapped his arm around me and said, no, I endorse this stuff. You keep writing. You keep being you. It's going to work. I think I was like, I don't know, Shane. I hope so. But people responded to the stories of my struggle and really my life and my family and the truth, yeah, honestly. And so then, as You Broke Up With Me began to climb, I thought, hey, maybe this is about to happen. So, yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, with a song like Layla's Stars or Beckett or Craig, these are about very real people in your life and these very intimate moments and thoughts about them.
Right.
As you now have a fan base who is listening, has it changed when you're writing, you're aware that someone is going to hear it? And do you feel like a pressure to sort of honor your relationship with someone or what you can share and what you shouldn't share?
Yes, it's a difficult balance. I talk about this on a daily basis about the creative process. It's more difficult now because I know what people have responded to, and my fans, my diehards, they want personal. Personal doesn't work on the radio, yeah, as well as I'd like it to yet. You know, maybe we can change that, but I have to, yes, when I sit down, I kind of have to decide, hey, is this a Beckett? Is this a Craig? Is this where I just pour my soul onto this page and let it land where it lands, you know, in the ears of the listeners that need to hear it? Or do I kind of aim for that mass commercial audience with this? And, you know, 90s country to me was a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where magic happens. You know, that's kind of what You Broke Up With Me was. Right. It was personal, but I did it in a very sneaky way, if you will. And so, yeah, I definitely learned from the first music that we put out, people want the person. They want my soul. They want me to bear the truth. It's almost like they want my music to be my social media platform almost. And so yeah, I feel an obligation to do that, and it makes me challenge myself when I'm writing a song. I'm like, hey, am I just writing this for the heck of it, or do I really have something to say today? Because that's what my audience expects of me, and I appreciate that from my fans.
It does lead to some interesting moments with your fans. I mean, you and your wife lost a child this summer.
Yeah.
And everybody was asking for songs about it, and they mean that in the best way.
I know.
But it is an interesting thing that they do expect that from you. They're not just looking for like a cowboy song or like a
Right.
drinking song.
No, and they do expect it, and you know, my struggle with addiction is something I will always write about, and I've learned that it brings me together with fans. It provides me a community to lean on as well as them, the listeners. And when it comes to Oakley, you know, my daughter, I will write about that. You know, I will share, and my purpose, you know, in writing these things, it's not a. I try to not let it become just some glorified testimony, but I want to help people by speaking about it. You know, and that's the thing about writing about Oakley. It will come, and I think it will serve a purpose in it. And I've already begun, you know, writing some of that. But yeah, I appreciate that my audience expects that from me. That's what I love to write.
I think obviously there's a huge value in also just happy songs. You've said that promoting 90s country and getting to sing it and hear it has also just been great for you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one thing I learned from You Broke Up With Me and am relearning with 90s country is I want to sit down and write the Craigs, the Leela Stars, the you know, the Beer in the Fridges. I want to write that heavy stuff, but there's a special place in the world for just happiness, and we need these massive hits that we think sometimes are trite, but those are the ones that people's faces light up in the crowd, and you think to yourself, man, that dude needed that song, and I love that.
You just announced the Dream On It tour, which was sort of named by your fans.
It was all the way named on it. I mean,
you-
well, it came from 90s country, but that was not my idea. It was a brilliant idea by my team, and honestly, we had a backup plan just in case, you know.
Their idea was bad.
Yeah, I mean, and not to assume that my fans couldn't come up with a great name, but you know, I didn't know how interactive they would be, but they crushed it. And so we had a list of great names, and a girl named Georgia came up with the name Dream On It, and it really just embodies what this last 3 years for me has been, a dream come true, obviously, and I have bigger dreams, you know, hopefully to come true yet, but loved that audience interaction. I mean, that's really cool. And she won dinner with me and the band.
Oh, that's fun.
And she wins 2 tickets to every single show.
Oh my God.
I couldn't afford to fly her to each one, but she gets to go. Yeah,
that's
she's
awesome.
there.
I think it's about 30 dates right now on this tour.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you know, how are you preparing, especially like what you were saying, you guys chose to have children. You have 6 children.
Yeah.
You know, mentally to be away and to sort of be like all over the place and then
Right.
coming to you. How do you guys handle that?
You know, my wife and I laugh because people always ask her, they approach her like, how do you do it? Does it make you sad that he's all? And she's like, no, after many years of wanting this to happen, we're so glad to have a reason to travel. And but you get a nice routine. When you're in tour season's actually nice. You know, you get on a bus Wednesday night, you bus in Sunday morning. So that's not bad. You know, it could be way worse. But we're just grateful that my career is on the level of trajectory that it is, you know, and that tour is an example of how I have work. I mean, I have a job right now, so we're excited.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yes.
You know, maybe just before we end, like you said, you've accomplished a lot in the last 3 years. A lot has changed, and also now new goals emerge. You know, what
Right.
are those things right now that are like on the horizon that you're just kind of reaching for?
They, you know, in my mind, they don't stop. You know, I've never been one to like shy away from odds and stuff like that. So, you know, I want to grow my audience. I want to go, you know, I just came off the road with Old Dominion in the UK. I'd love to headline that tour at some point. I don't think that's far around the corner. You Broke Up With Me peaked at 9. I hope 90s Country goes number 1. I hope You Broke Up With Me goes double platinum soon. And I want to just keep, I put out these 8 tracks that are the real personal songs that I build myself. I want my audience to begin to expect those, and I want a new album. And I really just want to keep feeding my family doing this.
Yeah. It is an interesting way to divide your music with the 8 tracks, to sort of have those and then also to do your albums with
Right.
more like other songs.
Right. Yeah, the 8 tracks, they feed my soul, as much as they do the listeners. There's no rules there. And then the albums, or lean a little more on the commercial side. But I want to grow the show. I want to dance, believe it or not. I love to dance. I'm not a great dancer, but I want to put that in my show and just grow the production of our show this year, and maybe the band even. But, yeah, just bigger and bigger crowds and, just grow the whole brand.
That's awesome. We do have some people who are waiting to ask questions. I think, are we starting here? Great.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how's it
Hey,
going?
Walker, nice to meet you. This is pretty awesome. I made your music around like a year ago.
Yeah.
With You Broke With Me, and also this one like a month ago, which is pretty awesome. I want to know where's your most creative place, and also what is your favorite song in this album?
Oh, okay. So, man, creative place. My most creative place is, this is going to sound funny, but my best ideas are middle of the night text to myself. So I have an ongoing chain of text. And then a lot of times I can cover a lot of ground creative-wise while I'm driving. So like driving into Nashville from Franklin, I live about 35 minutes from where I record everything. And man, I can do a lot in that time period, and it's just, I guess, alone time and quiet time when I create. And then my favorite song off the album Boom is probably Craig. It just defines everything that we've gone through in the past 3 years, from working at Costco to now having a song on the radio, and it, Craig embodies the type of people that we were surrounded by that kept me going.
Awesome. And then one over here.
Walker, I'm a big fan, so gratified by your success. I've been following you since I saw you a few blocks away a few years ago, up on a stage with the Old Dominion guys. And
Oh, that's
Shane,
right, yeah.
And this guy who I never heard of.
That's right, I was the no-name guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just so happy to finally hear your stuff and hear your voice emerging. I wonder how you write songs, because your songs, although they all sound like you and you have your own style,
Right.
They're so different. Do they come together differently? Is your writing process differently? Do some come from the rhythm? Do some come from the lyrics? Do some come from the melody? How do you do it?
Well, I will say my weakness would be like melody and the musical aspects of songwriting. I'm mediocre at best on all instruments, so I do enough to accompany myself. Now, lyric-wise, that's where I thrive, and I love to write. I love the words, and that's usually what comes first is the lyrics, and then it's actually quite hard for me to figure out where those words land and how you phrase them and stuff. Most of my songs begin as little half poems with no music, no production at all, and then I'll go in, and the first musical aspect I add is just the beat. Like, is it fast? Is it slow? Where's the groove? And then everything just kind of fits together. A lot of times I'll write sections, of songs. For instance, like, 90s country, I had that chorus the whole time, but the verses, they changed a gazillion times. And then but yeah, that's kind of how I write. Words first. Usually I'm an idea guy.
Great. And then we have our last question over here.
Yeah.
Hi. So I really loved hearing about your journey. I'm wondering, what advice would you have for someone who wants to embark on becoming a singer and songwriter?
Becoming a singer? One thing I did wrong, I didn't do it wrong, but I think all musicians, aspiring musicians and aspiring songwriters, we place a lot of emphasis on who we're going to meet, because that's the truth is, it is about who you know. At some point, you got to know someone who can help you. However, the way you meet that right person that you need to know is by just actually doing what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Or for lack of a better term, walking your dream now. You know, a lot of writers say, how can, you know, can we get together? Can you help me? And I'm like, actually, I can't help you. You just have to write and you have to sing in front of people. You know, you have to do that as much as you can. Also, I think one thing we all as entertainers need to do is find people who say no and figure out how to make them say yes. Because you grow a ton. If you find someone who's a bad critic, who doesn't like what you're doing, and you figure out how to make them like it, you just grew as a creator. So I hope that helps.
That's awesome. You guys, all of the Dream On It tour dates are on Walker's website. Obviously, 90s Country is streaming. Check it out. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.